That was just lucky. Okay.
What's that, a picture?
It is indeed. The problem is with the item that's shown in the picture.
The bust?
It's quite a large bust. Don't present evidence was the other option? Okay, cool. And because it's life-size, it's also very, very heavy. Heavy? Heavy enough to guarantee a certain death. Especially if he was dropped from a third-story window. Duh! And the birds flew the coop. This is how Acro was able to kill the Ringmaster. With the force of gravity and Maximilian Galactica's ample bust. Which is not weird to say. At all.
Order. So you're saying the bust fell onto the Ringmaster?
A rather simple crime. Even if you were stuck in a wheelchair, it'd be incredibly easy to commit. How could you possibly wheel a wheelchair with something so heavy? It's impossible. Well, Acro is an acrobat. He should have more than enough upper body strength to carry something like a bust.
Mr. Dingling, how do you respond to these charges?
Whoa. Acro's at a loss for words. He should be. He knows that I'm getting close to the truth. Well, Acro. Can't run away from that. I'd watch what you say if I were you, Mr. Phoenix Wright. What? Your Honor, the physical health of the witness is material to this case. I demand that we get proper testimony from the witness himself.
Testimony.
She's just using this testimony as a ruse to stall for time. There is absolutely no need for such testimony. The defense has its version of the murder. The prosecution has the right to respond.
The defense's objection is overruled.
Why can't he see things my way for once?
Mr. Dingley, I'm sorry, but you need to testify about your physical condition. If you have any doubts about your ability to testify, we can request expert testimony.
The witness will have no problems. However, let's all be respectful towards him. Thank you. A woman will sink to any low to win a case. Physical state. I suppose I could have lifted something the size of that bust. I have a strong upper body from working as an acrobat, and only my legs were injured. However, lifting the bust and looking out of the window would have been impossible. There's no way I could have exerted that kind of force on my lower body. That makes it impossible for me to have known the location of the Ringmaster's head. Unless you ask for him to come. With that freaking note. Thus, it would be unrealistic for me to drop the bust on him, don't you think? You think he used the lights like as a pulley? And the note. Yeah, the note definitely. And he just waited to like hear when someone maybe opened the chest that he put there? Or had put there? How did he put the chest there? How'd the trunk get there?
I have no doubts in regards to the witness's testimony.
It was impossible for him to lift the bust and stick himself out far enough to look. He can't look out the window. I don't think they're motion detecting lights. They're just... Lights are just on, I think. Not to mention that he could not have known the location of the Ringmaster's head. A single false step would have led to an even more severe injuries.
That's what I was thinking. What is your opinion on the matter, Mr. Wright?
I'd still like to proceed with my cross-examination. He's simply stalling. What's shameful, really? You were stalling, too. Can't let her get to me. Gotta focus. They might have been. I just missed that detail. They are motion detecting lights. I just thought they were safety lights. I don't know if that means motion detecting, though. Does it? I'm going to kill this freaking in-ear thing in my head. Okay. Are we gonna get penalized? Let's see. Have you ever lifted up the bust before? No, I've never actually lifted it with my own 2 hands. I don't know, Brick, that's the thing. But I should get to it, don't you think? I can't let money outdo me on this. Money? Oh, that crazy monkey has lifted Max's bust before? Dude, that monkey's strong! That monkey's strong! So, what have you been doing to keep in shape? Well, honestly, I've given up on training. I don't have any plans to return to the trapeze or the tightrope. You think it was the monkey that did it? I don't know. You don't say. But, no offense, I'm not worried about losing to you in a race or anything. Neither am I, Mr. Phoenix Wright. You think the monkey lifted the bust? I bet he stole the bust because it was sparkly, and then Acro could use it. I won't lose either, Slowpoke. I mean, Nick. How did the discussion turn on me all of a sudden? I suppose you could say that I'm stronger than the average bear. Stronger than the average bear? However, lifting the bust and looking out the window. And why is that? Because if I were to do that, I'd end up falling out the window myself. I still haven't gotten much feeling back in my legs yet.
So you couldn't have thrown that bust out the window?
How long do you think your recovery will take? I'm gonna start talking in Acro's enunciation. You have to remember that my nerves were severely damaged. I'm currently undergoing some extremely intense rehabilitation, but it's still going to take a while before I'm back to 100%.
That may remind you of another very important point. If the witness was carrying the bust, he would not be able to see it but below the window.
I think we know where this is going. Why do you say it would be impossible? Allow me to explain. You accept that if I was carrying the bust, I couldn't see out below the window? Thus, there is no way that I would know the location of the ringmaster's head. Suppose you got a point?
Hey, Nick. What if you turn things around? Maybe if you think of it sort of like this. If he knew the location of the ringmaster's head, then he could drop the bust.
That does make sense. Well, I could prove it somehow. I think we can. That Acro knew the location of the heads without looking down. So I could present either the note or the trunk. I think the trunk. Let's try the trunk. We're going to safety save because we're stumps like that. Present. Yeah, we're doing it. Acro, you didn't really need to lean out the window, did you? What are you driving at, Mr. Wright? You already knew ahead of time where the ringmaster's head was going to be. Quite precisely, I might add.
You're just silly hinting at things as pointless, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Enough stalling. How about you show us some evidence?
But I did such a good job at hinting.
Hurry up and explain things.
Maybe you should take a look at this. The key point here is the wooden box.
The same wooden box that the victim was found hunched over.
The same. Question is, who placed the wooden box there?
Who?
When Ben and company saw the ringmaster, they didn't see him holding the box. Which means that this wooden box was already placed at the scene of the crime. You saying that, Judge, doesn't actually help me. You get swayed one way or the other pretty easily. The moment that the bus came falling down was exactly the same moment that the ringmaster lifted up the wooden box. Which means that the answer to all these questions is now crystal clear.
You mean?
If the bus were to fall upon the point marked out by the wooden box,
There'd be no way that it could miss the head of the victim.
No!
order. This is unbelievable.
Finally, some of these loose ends are starting to tie themselves up. I just gotta keep going. There's only one way to go from here. Forward. Get whipped in the face. No? Okay.
Next question I have is, who placed that wooden box at the scene?
Mr. Dingling, of course. He connected it to a rope, and then all he had to do was lower it down.
Allow me to whip some... Ow! 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 The ringmaster's head could have been anywhere he would lift when he lifts the box.
That's why the box was so specially made.
Specially made.
Indeed. Had the most peculiar feature. It was heavy. And it has a strong lock. Weight of the box. The box has remarkable weight. Weight?
According to the court record, it weighs 20 pounds.
Just to lift up this wooden box would have required...
Oh, I see. One would have to squat down and lift it up with their body. Their legs, not their back.
That's exactly what I was trying to point out. The box is also very large.
The box is also carrying handles on either side, doesn't it?
That's correct. To lift up the box, you'd have to squat down. Which means that no matter who you are, your head would be in approximately the same place.
You fool!
I just remembered. She's like a female version of Excalibur if you were a jerk. He looks so calm. Does he even bother to listen to me anymore? I've heard what you've had to say. I must admit, I'm shocked at your imaginative skills.
Did you do it? Did you place this wooden box in the plaza?
Mr. Wright, may have a vivid imagination, but I could never have done what he's proposing. Mr. Wright, do you recall the original location of Max's bust? I remember. Of course I remember. It's on top of the table in the cafeteria.
What happened to it?
I'd like to remember one important fact. I could not possibly leave the lodging house by myself.
That means...
You understand what I mean, don't you? I may very well have been able to drop the bust from my room. However, how would I have gotten the bust from the cafeteria to my room?
Monkey, the money.
Money the monkey, yeah.
You see, Mr. Phoenix Wright? Explain that. Don't forget, you said there was no accomplice. Tell us exactly how the witness would have carried the bust from this cafeteria.
Yep, we definitely have a problem here. This is no place to get perplexed. Gotta get my wits about and prove how things happened once and for all. I don't know if it counts as an accomplice. So your explanation.
How did the witness get the bust from the cafeteria back to his room?
There's a monkey!
A monkey?
Everyone knows Money. He loves shiny objects of any size.
Oh, like when he stole the ventriloquist's ring.
So, are you saying the witness had a monkey steal the bust?
Of course he didn't order the monkey to steal it. The monkey stole it on his own, and then brought it back home.
Home?
Monkey lives in Acro's room.
Acro's room?
Objection! But the bust was bronze. Wasn't it? Bronze isn't all that shiny.
Maybe you should put the whip down sometimes and read the court record. He's gonna get whipped for that one. Just because.
My, those are some very nice cards he's holding.
Yes, and they're made of platinum, which is very shiny.
Yeah.
Acro. Money is a strong monkey, right? It'd be easy for him to bring the bus back to your room. If he wasn't able to handle that himself, I'd be on the market for a new roommate. At least he's complimenting the monkey. Order. Where's the bust in question at this moment?
I don't know. They're searching for it as we speak.
It's a rather strange turn of events. But let's say that the monkey had not stolen the bust. What would have happened then? Well, in that event, something else would have been used as the murder weapon.
Wait. You mean this bust was the murder weapon purely by accident?
It's possible. Maybe Acro saw Money's mountain of stolen goods and thought to use one of them. Anyways, I think we've more than proven one critical fact. Namely, that it was entirely possible that Acro was the murderer.
Mora. The moron.
Sir Wright's argument was so circular, I'm still a bit dizzy. His argument does hold water. There's no denying that.
Ow! Don't be so flamboozled, especially by this fraud of an attorney.
100% win rate.
You've forgotten the absolute most important thing, Mr. Phoenix Wright.
You should know. So you're gonna say, like, motive?
You forgot that your fraud of a magical client was spotted at the scene of the crime.
But we just proved that it could have been the bust, and the bust looks like him.
There is no reason to doubt the clown's testimony.
That's true. How do you respond to that, Mr. Wright?
Nick, don't let her beat you now.
It's like confuzzle. It's a good word, though. It's my chance to turn this trial around.
When the murder occurred, there were two people at the scene of the crime. One was the victim, Russell Berry. The other was the murderer himself. Answer this and only this, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Who was the murderer this clown saw?
The bust.
Take that!
He saw Max's
I asked who the other person most saw on the scene. That evidence has nothing to do with the question.
Objection!
Au contraire, mon frère. It does indeed have something to do with the question. Mo said that he saw Max's silhouette. But he didn't actually see the man himself. It wasn't a human being he saw. We're getting the theme music. How is that possible? It's simple, really. What Mo actually saw that night was Max's bust.
What are you talking about? Have you tried using your brain at all in this case? The silhouette he saw was wearing a cloak.
There's no reason why you couldn't attach a cloak to the bust. It'd be easy to hang one of the cards in the bust's hands. One off of the cards. Yeah, we're getting that.
Idiot! Who in their right mind would put a cloak on a bust?
Doesn't matter who put it on the bust. Wait a minute, Mr. Wright. Who put the cloak on the bust? The question is of the utmost importance in this case. Don't you agree? Let's have it, Mr. Wright. Who put the cloak on the bust? Well... You think the bust is in the hospital? Yeah, because he could be visiting the brother. That's a good point. Could be in with his brother. Who put the cloak on the bust? Does that have to be a person? Rude Happy Hump Day. Yeah, we're totally planning around. He was wearing a cloak, wasn't he? So... he was also wearing a hat. Bye, Fantasia. Good night. I'm gonna say it was him when he got hit. Phew! Him?
Are you saying that it was the victim himself, Russell Berry?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, the victim himself placed the cloak on the bus?
Place the cloak isn't really the right way of putting it.
And what would be the right way of putting it, Mr. Wright?
Explain yourself.
Do you really have a handle on all this? I'm fine, Maya. I'm finally putting all the pieces together. There's really only one picture I can paint anyways. Alright. So you want to know what really happened that night? Let's step back in time. Acro used a rope to lower the wooden box onto the scene. Then he attached that rope to the bust and dangled the bust out his bedroom window, which directly above the wooden box. At the same time, the ringmaster told Max to wait in his room and went to the scene. Of course, at the time, the ringmaster was wearing Max's costume. Perhaps he didn't want anyone to recognize him that night. But just as he feared, he was spotted at the entrance of the lodging house. But none other than the ventriloquist and his puppet, Ventrilo. When the ringmaster arrived at the scene, he bent over to lift the wooden box. And that's when Acro took his chance and released the rope. Now this is when the magic happens. The very instant that the bust hit the victim, and it gets put on, it got knocked off and landed on the bust.
Wait just a second there, Mr. Wright. As much as you try, as much as you scheme, this just isn't true. It can't be.
It's still a little early to be getting upset, Miss Von Karma. This circus isn't over yet.
What?
Yeah, show me proof, Von Karma. Show me proof that I'm lying. The impact of the bust on the victim threw the cloak up, which snagged onto the bust. The impact also caused the sound a certain witness heard, prompting him to take a look. The witness, of course, was Lawrence Mo Curls, the clown. When Mo looked out of his window, the cloak he had already snagged onto the bust. Now, having completed the crime, Acro naturally went about pulling up the murder weapon. Of course, he had no idea that Mo saw the bust being raised with a cloak dangling on it, primarily because in his wheelchair he couldn't see out of his window. So he just kept pulling the bust up. So you see, the only person who could have pulled this off is the one person who was able to drop the murder weapon from above the crime scene. Acro, it could only have been you. Dang it, look a little flustered, please. Please. Acro's been playing mind games with all of us. But he has come to the end of his rope now, we think. What's the importance of having a good off-tank is huge. Oh yeah, a good off-tank that supports the main tank, super huge. So? What now?
You've graced us with a rather long-winded tale. But do you have any evidence to prove that your fairy tale is true? In this court, only two things matter. The power of evidence and the power of my whip.
Don't forget the power of my gavel and my axe. Mr. Wright, the prosecution brings up a good point. Can we see some evidence?
Nick, they say they want evidence.
just explained how there can only be one possible murder method, but there's still something unusual about Moe's eyewitness testimony. A contradiction, actually.
Use that and get out of this jam.
There's enough talking amongst yourselves. Proceed.
Present evidence to the court that backs your claims. Hard proof that you have unraveled the trick.
Do you think the note? We can't save here. I think we haven't used the note yet. Let's try the note. Okay, it's not the note. Ow. Try again. If they had been silent for 2 more seconds, I would have screamed. We're getting poked to death!
Say they want evidence.
Something unusual about Moe's eyewitness account. He didn't see roses? Let's try presenting... the 3 things? Problem is Max's 3 symbols. You know, the silk hat, the cloak, and the white roses? Those symbols were a problem numerous times during yesterday's proceedings. Yesterday, there were 2 contradictions in Moe's testimony.
The silk hat was one, and the white roses was the other.
But the theory I just presented explains all of those contradictions.
You fool! Do you ever shut up?
Max's silk hat was found at the scene of the crime. However, remember what Moe said yesterday? He testified that the criminal saw fleeing the scene was wearing a silk hat. There's only one explanation for that. The silk hat that Moe saw was actually the bust's. Bust. Love that word. Makes sense if you look at it that way. They didn't see a silk hat, well, sort of.
Fine, you've got one. What about the other contradiction?
Yeah, which other one?
Remember that the ventriloquist said in court. He said that the witnessed white roses on Max's chest that night. But the clown's testimony doesn't match. Clown said that there were no white roses.
It was just facing the other direction.
I'd like to see you try and explain that one away. Can you do it, Nick?
Of course. I can explain all of it.
What was that?
Please recall the instant when the cloak snagged onto the bus. If the cloak snagged onto the bus, what happened to the white roses? Oh, they're hidden. Do you get it yet? If the cloak got snagged onto the front of the bust, it means that the white roses would end up on the back of the bust. Back of the bust. Which explains why Moe didn't see them. The white roses were not visible because they were on the back side. Order. This is quite the shocking state of affairs. Mr. Wright's theory still sounds a bit absurd to me. However, let's keep going down this road for a while and see where it leads.
Let's do this, Nick. Then maybe Von Karma will finally throw in the towel.
Not with that finger wag. Not with that serene look.
So much for that theory.
Mr. Wright, do you mind? What is it? You took the time to research our circus, didn't you? Well, yeah, I did. Is there something making you think I didn't? If you did, then maybe you'll understand why I think you're off track. Oh, he's gonna bring up motive.
Motive. This witness feels an incredible debt of gratitude towards the ringmaster. Anyone with any relation to the circus is well aware of this. Thus, there is absolutely no way someone like this would kill the ringmaster. wasn't trying to kill the ringmaster. He was trying to kill Regina. Your Honor, I'd like for you to hear Acro's story. The one about his relationship with the ringmaster and his life up to now. What do we do? There's no doubting that Acro deeply respected the ringmaster.
Acro's motive. Seems that this case isn't over yet. Very well. However, I feel this is a good place to take a break. I will listen to the rest of Mr. Dingling's testimony after recess. This court has now taken a 10-minute recess.
Okay, this is good, because it means we can take another stretch break. Quick one. I think he was trying to get Regina there, because he still blames Regina on killing the brother. But she's ditzy and thought it was somebody else's and then put it on the thing. Stretch!